his eye. I didn't say, what are you looking so sad about, Champ?
I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, during one time during my career, I went on a Bomber Lamont tour.
Bomber Lamont, I would have been a bomb compared to you.
Well, you've been on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before we get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast or be a content creator. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. Mike Mazik. Salute, Mike. Victoria Sewell. That's Miss Cass under her government name. But salute to everyone. And welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, The Box Storian. Today, boxing in the States, Tennessee. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's The Box Storian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. How's everyone today? Welcome to the Thursday, not quite Friday yet. Thursday afternoon edition of Cash Sports The Box Story. But we are late in the week. This big week of boxing history. We're going to continue the Boxing in the State series today with Tennessee. Only got a few more to go. TWXYZ. Down in the single digits. We had to come up with something else because we done went through every state. Not all the time history, just some significant events that occurred in the states concerning boxing. Like today, Tennessee, we're going to talk a little about amateur boxing down there. Of course, you think of Tennessee, the two biggest names are Big John Tate and Sweet Hands Caleb Plant. And Thomas Hearns was born in Tennessee, but of course his boxing career played out in Michigan, Detroit, where he's known from as far as boxing, but he was born in Tennessee. So we're going to touch on the Hitman today too, okay? But everybody okay today? A little late getting started, so we're going to get into our highlights of boxing history. We're going to talk about who are some of the best heavyweights. Which heavyweight had the best jab in boxing history? The big boys, as far as the jab, okay? There's one right there. He had a pretty good one, I would say. As far as boxing, period, he had one of the best as far as the entire sport, not just heavyweight. But let's talk about it. Which heavyweight had the best jab in boxing history, okay? Let's see. The experts are split on this. Now, most agree on the heavyweights that had the best jabs of all time. We got Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe, George Foreman, the Brown Bomber Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis. Vladimir Klitschko had a pretty good one, especially when he brought on Emmanuel Stewart in. Yeah, but he had a pretty good jab. Okay, but let's talk about it. Now let's discuss these heavyweights I just mentioned and why their jab was deadly to opponents, okay? We had what, 6, 7, 8. Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe, George Foreman, Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko. Yeah, that's 8 of them. Let's discuss these heavyweights and why their jab was deadly to opponents, okay? Now, first, Muhammad Ali. Now, Ali used this jab to control distance and set up his opponents, both offensively and defensively, right? Now, Ali was a master of both the flicker and the paw jab, because there's different types of jabs, right? Ali was a master of the paw jab and the flicker jab, okay? And he also had the fastest jab in history. You know, he had the fastest jab than some welterweights and middleweights. Muhammad did. A guy measured how fast his hands were. And not only were they the fastest heavyweight, it was faster than some middleweights, right? Now, Muhammad Ali, pre-exile, before he was, suspended from the sport, before his license was revoked, he was the fastest heavyweight ever. In the May 5th, 1969 issue of Sports Illustrated, Ali's jab was measured with an omega scope, right? His jab was found to smash a balsa board 16.5 inches away in 19/100ths of a second, okay? It actually covered the distance in 4/100ths of a second, which is the blink of an eye. That's how fast Ali's jab was. Just blink your eye, and Ali then hit his opponent with the jab in the same amount of passage of time as a blink of an eye. Jimmy Jacobs, who owned the world's largest collection of fight films, said that on film tests with a synchronizer, Ali's jab was faster than that of Sugar Ray Robinson or any middleweight, welterweight, or lightweight that he measured. Okay? Middleweight, welterweight, I said middleweight and welterweight, but this guy said also lightweight that he had measured. Okay? Jacobs contended that Ali was not only the fastest heavyweight, but also the fastest fighter, period, he ever saw on film. Okay? Fastest period he ever saw on film. Angelo Dundee, his trainer, said it best. He said, in his prime, nobody could match Ali's jab. He just cut people up with it. And Angelo knew it. Okay. So number 2, Ali is, of course, number 1. Best jab in the heavyweight in history. Number 2, the Big Bear, Sonny Liston. Okay. I call him the Big Bad Bear, Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston probably had the strongest, hardest jab in history. And he used his jab to set up everything else that he did. Everything was off the jab for Sonny. Now, Sonny, he was born left-handed, but he fought in the orthodox stance. He had an incredible 84-inch reach and used his powerful left hand to batter people, okay? Sonny was like 6'2", 6'3", 84-inch reach is the reach of a 7-footer, okay? Another one of those guys that could scratch his knees standing straight up, then he had to bend down, okay? I can damn near do that too. I never mentioned my reach, I got it pretty long. I probably would have been a boxer, I would have had an excellent jab. I probably would have been a light heavyweight. I'm a heavyweight now, but in my prime, I was a light heavyweight. But, okay. Boxing writer and historian Buddy Franklin, writing about Sonny Liston in the Floyd Patterson fight, said, it is interesting to note that while the fights were blowouts, Liston did not come out swinging wildly. He took Floyd apart methodically, setting Floyd up with left jabs and solid body shots. Sonny showed fast hands using an accurate left jab, along with hooks and uppercuts. Sonny had a definite game plan, and he executed it perfectly. If Sonny and Floyd fought 100 times during that period, he would have knocked Floyd out in the first round 100 times. Okay? This guy says if Sonny and Floyd fought 100 times during that time frame, early 60s, he would have knocked Floyd out 100 times. Okay? Now, Joe Frazier, when asked if Larry Holmes had the best jab he had ever seen, said, no, Ali's jab was better. Then Joe paused and said, and Sonny Liston's was better too, of course. Okay? Big George Foreman said, Sonny Liston taught me how to jab. He taught me how to box, really. Zora Farley, who fought both Ali and Liston, said, Sonny had the hardest jab in history. Ali had the fastest. Both of them were on the money. So pick your poison, okay? Number 3 on the list, best heavyweight jabs ever, Larry Holmes, the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes, okay? Now, Holmes had a deadly, accurate jab that he executed precisely and very well. He learned to box sparring with Muhammad Ali. So it is no surprise that his jab in many ways mimicked Ali's. Okay? So Holmes' jab was slower and perhaps more powerful than Ali's. Now, nobody had a more powerful jab than Sonny Liston. Let me tell you this story about Sonny Liston hit a guy with a jab. They were in sparring and they had the headgear on. Sonny hit the guy so hard with the jab, he split the headgear, went through the headgear, hit the guy in the jaw, and knocked out 8 teeth with a jab. Okay, with a jab. But Larry, we're talking about Larry Holmes now, right? The Holmes jab was slower than Ali's, but a little more powerful than Ali's. Emanuel Stewart said of Holmes' jab, okay, Larry Holmes' left jab alone, his speed, the unbelievable stamina and determination and ability to recuperate from punches, Larry would have been a threat to anybody because that left jab was almost a machine by itself. Larry didn't even have to move too much, right? With that jab. He had a very long reach too, Larry Holmes. But make no mistake, anyone watching Larry Holmes carving up Jerry Cooney would have said the same thing that Joe Frazier did. He jabbed that fool to death. That's what Joe Frazier said about the Larry Holmes Jerry Cooney fight. He said Holmes jabbed that fool to death. Number 4, Riddick Bowe. He had a good one. Another heavyweight with a great jab, Riddick Bowe. Now, Riddick Bowe, according to Evander Holyfield, who he fought 3 times, not only had the best jab he ever faced, including Holyfield also faced Foreman and Lewis, but he said Riddick Bowe had the best jab he ever faced, but he was a better fighter talent-wise than Lennox Lewis, okay? But, you know, Bowe and Lewis never fought. They fought at the amateur level. Lewis won a controversial fight in the Olympics, but they never fought at the pro level, okay? Now, Bowe had a deadly, powerful jab that he used to control his fighters and beat up his opponents from long distance. Also had a nice reach, yeah. Evander Holyfield said this about Riddick Bowe. Bowe had the best jab. He was consistent with it. Lennox Lewis kind of had the kind of jab. He had a good one, right? But Riddick Bowe used his for offense and defense. And at any given time, he used the left hand. Holyfield said, oh yeah, Bowe's jab was powerful. Holyfield would know. He fought him 3 times. Who was a better fighter between Bowe and Lewis? And the best fighter he ever saw? Holyfield said, I would have to say Bowe. Emanuel Stewart, one of the greatest trainers in history, and said of Riddick Bowe, I remember very distinctly the night that Bowe knocked out Jesse Ferguson because I was there in the arena. Because his next fight was going to be against a guy who I had just made a deal to start training, named Evander Holyfield, who he had already beat once. He said Bowe looked so good that night that in the post-fight press conference, I mentioned to Eddie and to, at the time, Rock Newman, his manager, and I said, he looked like he became a complete, perfect fighter, and I didn't even know how the hell I was going to even train Evander to beat him. Bowe looked so good. He was doing everything. The jabs, the uppercuts, combinations. He was just doing everything so well. He was on his way to being an all-time great, but Riddick didn't want it. Riddick didn't have it mentally, okay? Donnie Williams in the building. What's up, Donnie? How are you today? It's boxing in the States today, Donnie, but first, we talk the highlights of boxing history. We're talking about who had the best jab of the heavyweights of all time. Of course, Ali was one. Then we had Liston, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe. We're up to where are we at, Mike? I forgot. 5. Number 5, yeah, number 5. We had Ali, Sonny Liston, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe were the first 4. And number 5 is Big George Foreman. Yeah, Foreman had a good one. You know, now Foreman's boxing skills are overlooked by fans because he was so powerful. had such a good knockout ratio getting people out of there. But he was a good boxer, also had a great jab. Great jab. Mike Grimm. What's up, Mike? Talking about the best heavyweight jabbers of all time. Number 5 is Big George. Like I was just saying, Big George's jab and his boxing skills are overlooked because he was such a great knockout artist, you know. Kind of like Tank. A lot of fans overlook his boxing skills because he always get his man up out of there. But, you know, Foreman was a great boxer. You know, like Tank and Foreman were both also great boxers, had skills. Let's talk about Foreman, okay? Now, Foreman in his prime had a thunderous telephone pole jab that he used to stop his opponents dead in their tracks, cut off the ring, and mercilessly batter his opponents into position to be stopped. You can just ask Joe Frazier about that, okay? Now, Foreman's powerhouse left jab kept Joe Frazier at arm's length, where Foreman hit him with both right uppercuts and left hooks. That's why I told you, just a terrible style matchup for Joe Frazier. Now, before Frazier met Foreman in Jamaica, Angelo Dundee openly worried that Frazier was endangering his multi-million-dollar rematch with Ali. Yeah, he had the Billy in Manila set up with Frazier and Ali, but Angelo Dundee said going in there with Foreman, Frazier putting that fight in jeopardy. He's like, Foreman might end Frazier's career. But Angelo Dundee called it before the fight. Styles, that's exactly what I say, styles. Joe's style is all wrong for this guy. See, that's what I say, terrible style matchup, but this is Angelo Dundee, the legendary Hall of Fame trainer saying this. Joe's style is all wrong for Foreman. I'm rooting for Frazier, but I've got the feeling Foreman will win. Why? Because he has all the attributes to beat Frazier's style. He's got a jab like I've never seen on a heavyweight since Sonny Liston. You know, the big powerful jab like that. He has a strong left hand, and he can stop a man in his tracks with one punch. Another legendary Hall of Fame trainer, Emanuel Stewart, and Angelo Dundee. In Foreman's second career, Angelo Dundee ended up training him. Remember? Yeah, ended up training him. And the other legendary trainer, Emanuel Stewart, said about George Foreman. The one thing that was very consistent with George was that he always had a thunderous jab. Even when he came back, that was the one main thing that was still consistent about him in his second career. He still had that thunderous jab, okay? And his jab was more like a ramrod. He would always throw a very good jab, not so technically beautiful, but it was very stiff, very hard, and very effective. Foreman used his jab in many ways, as Sonny Liston used his, because Foreman trained with Liston, remember? He said Liston taught him how to jab. Only Liston, who had a 5-inch reach advantage over Foreman, used his at a longer range, longer distance than Foreman, because Liston had those 5 inches on Foreman. It is not surprising that Foreman and Liston both used their jabs similarly, since Sonny taught George how to jab, okay? Number 6 is the Brown Bomber himself, Joe Louis. Joe Louis. Now, Joe Louis would have got to be on the list, right? But considering Joe himself said Ali and Liston had better jabs than he did, so, they had to be in front of him. Joe himself said that. Now, but make no mistake about it, Joe Louis had a powerful and deadly jab. Buddy Bayer commented after their first fight. Yeah, I made a short on, it was Buddy's brother, Max Bayer, the other day. I got 1,000 likes on that bad boy. Ooh-wee. Yeah. Got 1,000 on it so far. Wait a minute. And it's still going on. Just made it. Might have been yesterday. 1,000 likes. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate all the support. Okay. Now, where were we? Joe Louis. Make no mistake about it. Right? I mean, Joe Louis. Yeah. Louis had a powerful and deadly jab. Buddy Bear commented after their first fight, Joe Louis used his jab like a damn scalpel, and he cut you to pieces with it. And number 7, Lennox Lewis. We get ready to get to Tennessee. Lennox had a beautiful jab too. Okay. Now Holyfield, who fought Lewis and Bo, said Bo's jab was much better than Lennox Lewis's, right? And Lennox's own trainer, Emmanuel Stewart, said Bo was more skilled at his best. But Lennox had a deadly powerful jab that he used to control the fights and beat up his opponents at long distance, because Lennox had a pretty good jab too. Emmanuel Stewart set up Lennox Lewis's jab. Lennox uses his jab to set up everything he does. He uses it on offense, he uses it defensively, and he uses it equally well for either offense or defense. Lennox was a superb, fundamentally sound boxer with an incredible same reach as Sonny Liston, 84 inches, right? 84-inch reach. Not blessed, and Lewis was like 4 or 5 inches taller than Sonny. Now Lennox was not blessed. Where was it? Bear with me for a minute. Lennox was not blessed with the strength, with the strongest chin in history, but he understood very well that controlling timing and distance was essential. And for him, it all started with a hard and fast jab, okay? For Lennox, yeah, it started with a hard, fast jab. I drop that 8-pin every day. There it is. Yeah, everything Lennox did started with a hard, fast, good jab. And when Emmanuel Stewart came in, he really developed that jab for Lennox. Okay, boxing in the States, Tennessee. Okay, it's got a little short history, then some other significant events, amateur boxing. Then we got boxers from Tennessee. We got Big John Tate and Caleb Plant, probably the two biggest names that come out of this. Big John Tate and old Sweet Hands. Caleb Plant. Okay. Now, Tennessee has a rich boxing history featuring both amateur and professional talent, with notable figures like Big John Tate, Caleb Plant. Tate became a world boxing heavyweight champion, and Caleb Plant was super middleweight champion. I think he's currently one of the interims, WBC one of them. Caleb Plant and Jerry Ace Miller, a prominent trainer who shaped the careers of many boxers, including Big John Tate himself. Okay, let's talk about the amateur scene in Tennessee. Okay, how's everybody today? It's Thursday, back at the end of another week of boxing history. Don't forget, tomorrow the profile is Sugar Shane Mosley. Sugar Shane, great career, international boxing Hall of Famer. Sugar Shane is. Here we go. Yeah, Sugar Shane made the Hall. First ballot. Deservedly so, too. He was one of the boxers that Floyd fought at the ideal time. Floyd probably still would have beat him in his prime, but you know, Floyd played it safe. You know, that's what keep Floyd from being TBE. Remember the other day, I found 25 fighters that was in front of Floyd as far as TBE. There we go. Anybody coming? No. The usual suspects is in the building. No. Bear with me. I'm always hitting something. Man. That's not it. Here we go. This is it right here. A little short piece on amateur boxing in Tennessee. A rich history. Amateur boxing in Tennessee. Okay. I still got that piece on that guy, Funko Die gave me Monday when I was doing the significant figures. I'm waiting to see them show up. His name was George something. Oh yeah, it's right there. George Parnassus. I'm gonna just a short piece on him, since he was a significant figure that I missed. When Funko Die asked me about it, I had never heard of him, but I looked him up. I got like 2 or 3 pages on him. Promoter out there in California. You know, he focused on the smaller weight classes. You know, a lot of the other promoters were focusing on the heavyweight, and he found big success promoting smaller weight class fighters all over the world. But we're going to talk about him as soon as I see Funko Die, whenever they show up again. Okay, now, but a rich history, amateur boxing in Tennessee right now. Now, Tennessee has a strong history of amateur boxing. There are currently more than 700 amateur boxers in the state, right? And more than 24 clubs registered with USA Boxing, you know, which is a national governing body for amateur boxing, right? So they got a lot of amateur boxing clubs down there. Yet USA Boxing is the governing body for amateur boxing in the United States. Now, Tennessee boxers represent all parts of the state, participating in club shows in Tennessee and the 7 surrounding states, as well as regional, national, and international competitions. Now, some of the most notable amateur boxers to come out of Tennessee include, let's talk about a few of these amateur boxers. Now, you might hear some of these names when we do the boxers from Tennessee too, but right now we're going to focus on the amateur careers. Memphis Pat Moore, right? He was a bantamweight who boxed with the United States Navy. Moore is known for his more than 200 pro fights in the early 1900s. In 2010, Moore was selected into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Then we got Joe Hadley, right? He was a middleweight who won the 1971 National Championships by winning 7 fights in 9 days. That's how you fight in amateurs. You know, it's only 3 rounds. He fought 7 fights in 9 days. Sometimes you fight back-to-back days. In 1973, Hadley knocked out future world champion Leon Spinks on his way to making an All-American AAU boxing team, Amateur Athletic Union boxing team, right? Where he was also named top middleweight amateur boxer in the United States. Joe Hadley. Okay, Clint Jackson from Nashville. Okay, yeah, Memphis Pat Moore from Memphis, Joe Hadley from Jackson, and Clint Jackson from Nashville, Tennessee. But Clint Jackson, he was a welterweight who won multiple AAU national championships in the mid-1970s. And he went on to win the 1975 Pan American Games. That's a big tournament, right? The year before the Olympics. Pan American is one of the most prestigious tournaments in the amateurs. Clint Jackson won that for the welterweight division in 1975. So he should have been in the Olympics. In 70, he didn't medal though, because 76 was a big year. Okay. So maybe he lost in the trials, but he won the Pan American Games. Okay, he did make the Olympic team. See, let's read on, Cass. Jackson made the Olympic team because you win the Pan American Games, you automatically on the Olympic team in the Olympics. Yeah, Jackson made the Olympic team in 1976, where he defeated Zbigniew Kika from Poland and Wesley Felix from Haiti, before losing to Pedro Gamaro of Venezuela in the quarterfinals. So he did make the Olympics. He won 2 fights, lost in the quarterfinals. Lost right before you get to the semifinals, so he lost like 3 fights before the gold medal. 3 fights away, 2 fights away from the gold medal fight. The gold medal fight would have been his 3rd fight after he lost. He would have won that. So got within 2 fights of the gold medal match. You get to the gold medal match, anything can happen, you know? Okay? We got Jerome Coffey from Nashville, Tennessee. A flyweight and bantamweight with more than 200 amateur fights. Coffey won multiple national championships, including AAU, PAL, and National Golden Gloves. Coffey was a bronze medalist in the 1979 Pan American Games. So he was a bronze. So he fell a little short. He beat Alberto Ramon from Mexico and Jorge Hernandez from Cuba before losing to Pedro Nolasco from the Dominican Republic in the final at lightweight in the 1979 Pan American Games. Yeah, 1 fight away from going to the Olympics. Wow. Currently, Coffey coaches boxers in Nashville. 1 fight away from going to the Olympics. Well, they wouldn't have went because in 1980, remember, the United States boycotted. It was in Russia. Remember Jimmy Carter? Russia invaded Afghanistan, so the United States didn't go because they was like complaining against Russia. So if Coffey would have won that fight and made the Olympic team, he still wouldn't have won. Right? He probably glad he lost because that really hurt those guys, man, and girls. All these amateur people go their whole life training for the Olympics, and then a politician gonna keep them from going. And then in '84 was in LA, the Russians didn't come. So their youngsters was hurt the same way, man. I don't think that was right. Find some kind of other way to punish the Russians, right? Don't let politics rear their ugly head into sports. That's the way to get away from that nonsense. So that was crazy. But I was saying Coffey wouldn't have won anyway if he would have won that fight, right? Okay, next is I went way off subject. I'm sorry. Christopher Downs from Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, Christopher was a light heavyweight who won a bronze medal at the 2007 Pan American Games. Yeah, he came up 1 fight short too. Okay, at the 2007 World Championships, Downs won his fight against Ismail Salak from Ukraine before losing to Tony Jeffries from Great Britain. At the age of 32, Downs became the oldest boxer in United States history to attempt to qualify for an Olympic Games, defeating Julio de la Cruz of Cuba in the first qualifier before falling short of qualifying for the 2008 Games when he lost to Luis Gonzalez of Venezuela and Julio Castillo of Ecuador. Sergeant First Class Downs is currently assistant coach with the United States Army boxing program. Yeah, he tried twice to get in the Olympics. Fell short both times. He was 32 years old the second time. Wow. Caleb Plant had a nice amateur career. We're going to talk about him too, in the professionals too, so I don't want to get too deep in it. Yeah, Caleb was a light heavyweight. Wow. But see, the weight classes are different than the amateurs. He was a light heavyweight in the amateurs, but a super middleweight at the pro level. So light heavyweight in the amateurs could be lower than super middleweight in the pro level. So yeah, Caleb was a light heavyweight in the amateurs. He won the 2011 National Golden Gloves and was a training partner with the 2012 Olympic team in London. He fought in the Amateur International Boxing Association's Semi-Pro League World Series of Boxing before catapulting his pro career. Stop right there, okay, because we're going to talk about his professional career a little later. All of these boxers benefited by amateur boxing and boxing programs in their area, from their opponents along the way to their coaches and coaches of opponents, to the referees and judges and people willing to put on local club shows. Boxers work as hard as they can, but they don't do it alone. It takes a community of people working together as people who believe in the sport to make boxing happen. Throughout Tennessee, you will find dedicated coaches, officials, and administrators who volunteer time and resources to support amateur boxing. Boxing clubs are always looking for help with coaches and officiating, right? If you live in the Tennessee area and want to volunteer some of your time, get on board. I lost my place. If you're in the Tennessee area, not already part of the amateur boxing community, as a boxer, they just got this site where you can go online and join in. So anybody live in that area, go down there and be a coach, a referee, a judge, or something, or a boxer. You know, Mike Mazik used to box up there. Was it Philly, Mike? Mike said them hits got too hard. It might have been New Jersey. Mike said those hits got too hard. He had to get out of there. Okay. I had something on the fight between Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis down there, but he keep blinking out on me. Let me see if it works this time. Okay. If I can get that going. And we're going to talk about some boxers from Tennessee. Boxers from Tennessee. Yeah, because Mike and Lennox Lewis had a big fight, one of the biggest fights in Tennessee history. That's where Tyson and Lennox fought at. Because remember, Mike couldn't fight in Las Vegas. That's where he had the bike fight at, and he had the rape situation about then. And some other stuff happened out there where Vegas just wasn't. Remember we did the Mike profile a couple weeks ago? Vegas just wasn't fooling with Mike anymore. Yeah. Let's see if we can get this up. We'll go to boxers from Tennessee. Got a big fight next weekend. I think that's Boots and Stanionis next weekend, right? Yeah. Next Saturday, a week from Saturday. I believe it is. And then a perfect world, Brian Norman would fight the winner. That's 3 belts in one hand, and then Burial got the other one. Burial still got it, right? Get another undisputed. You know, Bud Crawford just left the division as undisputed. Get another one this fast would be good. Good for boxing. So we'll see what happens. Norman says he wants to fight the winner. Of course, he clout chased. He clout chased Boots last year when he knew he wasn't going to fight him because his hand was messed up and he had on the way to surgery. All that time talking about he wanted to fight Boots and all of this and all of that, and his hand was injured. Yeah. The man knows he can't beat Boots. He said, no, it ain't gonna work. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So we'll go to boxers from Tennessee. Got a little piece on Big John. Like I said, him and Caleb are the 2 biggest names. Wow. Yeah, Tyson Lewis and the return of boxing to Tennessee. Let me see here if this works out for me. That's a pretty interesting piece. But I get to a certain point and it just blinks out. Let's see. Oh. Okay. Looks like we might. Oh, nope. Let's go to the point where it does that then. And then we'll stop. Because it's pretty good. It's about Tyson and Lennox Lewis, one of the biggest fights down there. Remember that fight? Lennox got the best of Mike, but that wasn't the Mike Tyson, you know. 1980s Mike Tyson destroys Lennox Lewis. Now, Tyson Lewis and the return of boxing to Tennessee. Okay. Now, a look back at the last major fight in Tennessee, Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis, as boxing returned to the state after a long layoff. Okay. Now, Memphis had its culture, the rich musical heritage with its nerve center on Beale Street, right? Graceland is there. The barbecue. Once you tried the Memphis version, you'll never forget the history. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated at the Lorraine Motel, which later became the National Civil Rights Museum. And the city of almost 700,000 became a major sports town when it was announced before the 2001-2002 NBA season that the Vancouver Grizzlies would relocate to the south. Now the Memphis Grizzlies. But the sight of a Mike Tyson boxing match, highly unlikely until it happened. Right? Until it happened. Tyson, nearing the end of his career, but still an iconic figure, was scheduled to fight reigning heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis on April 6, 2002 in Las Vegas. Then at a surrealistic press conference to promote the fight on January 22nd of that year in New York City, Iron Mike went berserk. He and Lewis were being introduced on separate sides of a stage at the Hudson Theater. When Mike's rage balled over, right, Tyson walked over toward Lewis and sparked a melee involving both of them and their cans, right? Amid the chaos, the fighters ended up on the floor, and Tyson, already infamous for gnawing off a portion of Evander Holyfield's ear in a 1997 fight, bit Lewis on the leg. And afterward, Lewis said, "I do not like being bit." Tyson then turned his attention to the crowd and unleashed a profanity-laced tirade that would raise questions about the troubled fighter's sanity at that time. Now, the press conference was the Ring Magazine's event of the year for 2002, arguably overshadowing the fight itself when they actually fought. It was real, very real, Shelly Finkel, Tyson's manager, said, told PremierBoxingChampions.com. Mike just jumped on him when they got close, and they got out of hand because both teams' camps jumped in too. Now, Lennox put his hand out to keep some distance between them, and then it became incendiary. I think Mike was under a lot of pressure. I think he felt misunderstood by a lot of people. Whether it was right or wrong, that's how he felt. He seemed to calm down. Then there would be something else that would ignite him. That's just what happened. That was his manager, Shelly Finkel, talking. Yeah, that was the Don King manager. It wasn't, I think it was Bill Caton under Cus D'Amato. But all those people were long gone. We talked about that yesterday, yeah. This was the Don King group. That would have never happened with the Cus D'Amato crowd. Nothing like that would ever have happened. Never in a million years. Now, the fallout wasn't friendly to Tyson. Nevada officials, they was already mad at him for the bite fight, right? So Nevada officials who had revoked his license after the air biting incident with Holyfield, they had allowed him to fight there 2 times since the Holyfield fight, right? But then after this incident, they refused to grant Tyson a license for the Lewis fight. And several other states followed suit, right? The organizers of what promised to be an enormous event suddenly had a problem. They had a marquee matchup, but no place to stage it, right? Had a big marquee fight, but no place to have it at. Because after Vegas revoked the license, a lot of other states followed suit because, Vegas was still in. It was real. The big thing in big city in boxing did, and a lot of places followed what Vegas did. And when Vegas revoked the license, a lot of other states said, we don't want to hear either, right? Because after the bite fight, they allowed him to come back and fight, and now this. So they had a big marquee event and nowhere to stage it. And Tyson's manager, Shelly Finkel, said, we were very nervous. Okay? Enter Memphis and Joe Towns Jr., a Tennessee state legislator. Towns was a boxing fan. He followed the drama surrounding the Lewis Tyson fight closely, including the search for a site. And he raised a simple question to movers and shakers in both Tennessee and in nearby Tunica, Mississippi, with its casinos. Why not have it down here? You know? The city had never hosted a sporting event on a massive scale of a Tyson-Lewis fight, but the Pyramid had been the site of a few major fights. Former middleweight champion Michael Nunn defended his title there twice in the early 1990s, right? So in other words, they were not complete strangers to boxing. Tennessee wasn't. Okay, so we probably get rid of the cutout. I'm gonna keep going until it does. Now, what about the ruling in Nevada? Towns and Company, the guy in Tennessee, recognized the objection to Tyson's actions at the press conference, but they didn't want to make a moral judgment. And from Towns' perspective, was Las Vegas, Sin City, after all, really in a position to judge anyone? Come on, Las Vegas, Sin City, right? Not exactly the place to be judging somebody. All the shit that go down there, okay? Gambling and all kinds of stuff. You get off the plane in the airport, they got slot machines in the damn airport. As soon as you walk in the terminal. So Las Vegas, that's what this guy in Tennessee said. Las Vegas, judging somebody. And of course, the most important element to this drama was the potential financial impact such an event would have on Memphis, right? Towns and investors who ultimately put up a $12.5 million site fee to stage the fight figured it was a good gamble. Now, Tyson versus Lewis promoters met with officials from the Pyramid Casino executives and local politicians on March 19, 2002 in the office of then Mayor Willie Harrington. And they emerged convinced that Memphis could handle the event, okay? After the meeting at the mayor's office, they felt they could do it. So the fight was scheduled for June 8th, 2002. It was on. Tyson's manager, Shelley Finkel, said, "We took a look at everyone that made a proposal. Memphis was the first one we knew was real. The money was there for it, $12.5 million. So was the enthusiasm. Many citizens of Memphis were dubious when word got out that their city was in the running to stage the fight. But once it became official, Towns said they were really excited." This is boxing fans everywhere. Here we have fights up here in Maryland. Like Tank. I think Tank said he would never fight here no more. He fought here in 2017 or something. Yeah, that was the last time. Knocked this guy out. You know, I was there. They had this big, it was a mess that weekend. They had this big Formula One race down there, like right down the street from the arena where they had the fight. It was a mess. You know, but hey, I was in the house. Tank come anywhere near Baltimore, I'm there. I didn't go to the one in New York. I was in New York that weekend though, when they fought Rose, but I didn't go to the fight. But anyway, yeah, the fight was on for Memphis, and the people were excited about it, okay? So the magnitude of the event itself was mind-boggling to the local people. Now, Towns confessed, the legislator from Tennessee, Towns, he confessed that while he knew it would be big, he would never have imagined what would unfold when it actually happened. Every airport, oh, there it is. I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I don't know. Every airport within 100 miles was filled with airplanes, private jets, and neighboring. Man, I don't know why I blinked out like that. I told you this was good, but wow. We kept doing that when I was leading up to the show too. I can't get it back either. Okay, we'll have to go. But anyway, yeah, they had to fight. Lewis beat him. Of course. Let me see. I think I might have it back. Let's see if this is it. No, that's about Big John. Big John Tate. Yeah, Big John is about part of the Boxers from Tennessee. It's almost like a profile. We're going to go over that last because it's kind of long. Big John. Okay, let's do Boxers from Tennessee. Okay. Sorry about that. The thing blinked out on me like that. Boxers from Tennessee segment coming up now. The first one is Sweet Hands. Caleb Plant. You know, you talk about boxing in Tennessee, Caleb Plant has to be one of the first names that come to mind. Former super middleweight champion. Only got 2 losses in his career, and to 2 of the top super middleweights of this era. You know, Canelo Alvarez and the Mexican monster himself, David Benavidez. Caleb has beaten everybody else at that division, so I knew he would like another shot at Canelo too. You know. Let me see something real quick. I might be able to get that back. I was enjoying that myself. Bear with me for a moment, please. Let me see. Where's everybody today? I don't see a lot of names. It's missing. Let me see if I can get that back. Okay. Let's see. I think I can. Here we go. Let's see. Where were we? Yeah, okay. I think we're good. I gotta figure out where I was at. Explain this. Yeah, Michael Nunn defended his title twice in the early 1990s. He passed that. Yeah, I got it back. Las Vegas in a position to judge anyone? Yeah, the people in Tennessee were really excited about this fight. Okay, we was at where about the how crowded the airport was. Right? Okay, here we go. I got it. Now oh no, I don't. Forget it. Boxers from Tennessee. Boxers from Tennessee. First is going to be Caleb Plant. Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. All right. Now Caleb is from Ashland, Tennessee, right? When it's just currently still active. He has 23 wins, 2 losses, and 14 knockouts. Caleb Sweet Hands Plant, super middleweight world title holder, is the interim title, right? He held the IBS super middleweight title from 2019 to 2021, and currently has held the WBA interim super welterweight title since September 2024. Excuse me. In March 2023, Plant lost to David Benavidez by unanimous decision at the MGM Grand Garden in Las Vegas. Plant has become a major star in the United States. Caleb Sweethands Plant. Okay. Next is Thomas Hearns. I told you Thomas Hearns was born in Tennessee. Yes, he was. So he's one of those two-state people. Yep, the hitman. But of course, he's known Detroit, Michigan. That world famous Crump Gym and all of that. Yeah, that's where Hearns is known for. The hitman. Talk about him. Yeah, he was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Of course, he finished his career with 61 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 48 knockouts, 78.6% knockout rate. Known as the Hitman and the Motor City Cobra, right? Competed from 1977 to 2006, 29-year career. He had an amateur record of 156 wins and 8 losses, and was named. He was named the 1977 most outstanding national amateur boxer. He turned professional that same year, representing his hometown of Detroit, Michigan. His entire boxing career played out in Detroit. Hearns finished his career to 61-5-1, including 48 knockouts, and he is a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. The Hitman, originally from Tennessee, not Detroit. Next is Adam Richards. This is boxers from Tennessee. Adam Richards. And I got a nice little piece on Big John Tate we're going to touch on after this. All about the biggest name from Tennessee, because he was a heavyweight, you know. Caleb was a super middleweight, so Big John overrides that. Right? He was in line for a title shot with Ali in the late 70s. All he had to do was beat Mike Weaver, but he got knocked out by Weaver, so he didn't get the title shot. Yep. Did not get it. But Adam Richards. Oh, shoot. I forgot. There's Hearns. That was Sweethands. Sweethands. Hearns. And there's Adam Richards. There's Adam. Adam Richards. Got to show my pictures. Okay, Adam Richards, former professional boxer. He competed from 2001 to 2010, 9-year career. He challenged for the WBO Cruiserweight title in 2010. Richards was national amateur champion 4 times, okay? He's from Smyrna, Tennessee. Had a career record of 23 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 23 wins, 3 losses, 15 knockouts for Adam Richards. Next is Jonathan Reed. Jonathan Reed. Here's Jonathan Reed. Talk about Jonathan briefly. And a nice thing on Big John Tate next. It's almost like a profile we do on Fridays. That's why I saved it for last, at the end of the boxers from Tennessee. Yeah. It's going to be like a little profile on Big John, one of Tennessee's most famous boxers, because Thomas Hearns was just born there. He didn't fight out of there, right? So, yeah. No, Adam Richards is next. That's Adam Richards. Did I do it? Yeah, I did Adam Richards. Can't remember. Stay with me for a minute. Yeah. Did I do Adam Richards? Yes, of course I did. Let's see. Yeah. I just didn't show his picture. Yeah, that was Adam Richards right there. This is John. Jonathan Reed is next. Boxers from Tennessee. Tomorrow, profile during the week is Sugar Shane Mosley. Everybody will show up at the end of the show, of course. But Jonathan Reed. Jonathan is from Nashville, Tennessee. He had 45 fights during his career. He won 34, lost 11, had 19 knockouts. And he challenged for the WBA middleweight title in 2000, fell a little short. He was a contestant on a reality TV show, The Contender. On the show, he was placed on the East Coast team, fighting Jesse Brinkley in the first round fight. Yeah. Was on The Contender. Adam Reed. Jonathan Reed. Next is Memphis Pat Morse. We talked about him when we did the amateur part. Yeah. Talk about Memphis Pat Moore's professional career. There's Memphis Pat Moore. That's Memphis. Oh, wait a minute. What? Oh, that's from yesterday. Yes, Memphis Pat Moore. I forgot to erase Joe Frazier from yesterday. Okay, Memphis Pat Moore, boxers from Tennessee. Memphis Pat. Okay. Memphis Pat Moore is from Kenton, Tennessee. He won 170 fights. He lost 56. He had 38 draws, 1 no contest, 11 knockouts. So guess what his knockout ratio was? 0.6%. Under 1% knockout ratio. It's safe to say he was not a knockout artist. Memphis Pat wasn't. Okay? Not a knockout artist. But he had a lot of fights. Wow. A whole lot of them. I'm sure we're getting Memphis Pat up here. Okay, here's Memphis Pat Moore. I thought. Yeah. Yeah, from of course from Memphis. Right. Now he claimed the World Bantamweight Championship in 1918, defeating championship claimant Johnny Erdy in Baltimore, Maryland, right? He was rated as the 17th best bantamweight of all time by Boxing.com and was elected to the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2010. Memphis Pat Moore. Next is Gorilla Jones. Yeah, Gorilla. Here's Gorilla. Gorilla Jones. He had to be a bad man. Nicknamed Gorilla. Right? Talk about it. Gorilla Moore Jones. Yeah, Gorilla Jones from Memphis, Tennessee. Gorilla was. Okay, his real name was William Landon Jones. Okay, and Gorilla had a pro record of 109 wins, 28 losses, 17 draws, 3 no contests. He had 66 knockouts. Okay. Now he held the National Boxing Association Middleweight Boxing Championship of the world, although he was nicknamed Gorilla for his exceptional reach. Jones is to be distinguished from the original Gorilla Jones, who campaigned from 1913 to 1924 and held the world colored welterweight title. This Jones was never knocked out. He had 52 knockouts out of his 101 wins. He had 66 knockouts out of his 109 wins, right? And he was posthumously inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame in 1994, and in the National Boxing Hall of Fame in 2009. Yeah, Gorilla Jones. He had a total of 172 fights. He won 109, lost 28, had 17 draws, 66 knockouts. And in 172 fights, he was never knocked out. Okay? That's incredible. That don't add up, though. That's more than 172. Somebody can't count. 109 wins plus 28 losses plus 17 draws and 3 no contests. Do that again. Yeah, that's about right. 109 wins, 28 losses, 17 draws, and 3 no contests. I'm getting 157. Yeah, somebody really can't count. But 66 knockouts. Whatever he had a lot of fights. He was over 100 fights, was never knocked out. Gorilla Jones, bad man. Bob Armstrong is next. Boxers from Tennessee. Got a nice piece on Big John Tate coming up. Okay. Oh, okay. Al Booger in the building. What's up, Al Booger? How you doing today, bro? Oh yeah, Jersey City was where Mike Mazik boxed at. But them hits got too hard. Mike got up out of there. But he was at Jimmy the Cat Dupree's gym. We did a profile on Jimmy that Mike gave us a while back. But salute Al Booger. This is Tennessee. Boxers from Tennessee right now. And Bob Armstrong. And that's Bob up there because he got his name up there. I know I'm in the right place. That is Bob Armstrong. Bet the farm on that. That's Bob Armstrong. We're using Bob Armstrong's name anyway. But let's talk about Bob. Bob was from Rogersville, Tennessee. He won 18 fights. He lost 11. He had 7 draws, 1 no contest, and 15 knockouts. He didn't have many fights, but he got 15 of his 18 wins up out of there, inside the distance, for a knockout ratio of 83.3%. So he had to have some kind of pop. Bob did. Bob Armstrong. Little short thing on Bob. He was known as the King of Battle Royal. He was born in Rogersville, Tennessee, but he moved with his family to Washington, Ohio when he was 3 years old. Now, before he got into boxing, Armstrong worked with racing horses in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bob Armstrong. Charles Hadley. I couldn't find no picture on Charles, but just to keep track of my place, put that up there for Charles. See, I'm slow. I can't just go from Bob to and talk about Charles. I got to put something up there for Bob, right? I mean, for Charles. Because I couldn't find no picture. Right? We talked about Charles when we talked about the amateurs too, remember? He was a good amateur, had a good amateur career. He had a good amateur boxing history. Caleb Plant was a good amateur too. Oh, sweet hands. Okay, Charles Hadley. Charles is from Nashville, Tennessee. He had 20 wins, 16 losses, 6 draws, 3 no contests, 10 knockouts. So that's 50%, right? Charles Hadley. He won the WBC Silver Junior Middleweight title in 2015 from Anthony Mundine, and he subsequently lost his title in his first defense in 2017. He was knocked out by, guess who? Jermell Charlo in April 2017. That's who he lost his belt to. Jermell, Charles Hadley. Then we got James Young. Let's find no picture of James either. Told you I'm slow. I gotta put something up there. James Young. They got a nice little thing on Big John Tate we're gonna talk about after this. I did it last. It's almost like a profile. But James Young from Nashville, Tennessee, okay? Okay, James Young. Let's move on past James Young. I wasn't supposed to include him. Alonzo Butler. Didn't find no picture no way for James. That's Alonzo Butler, though. Yep. Alonzo Butler. One more after Alonzo. Alonzo is from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He won 34 fights, lost 3, 2 draws, 1 no contest, 25 knockouts. Okay. For Alonzo Butler. $73.5. That's nothing to write home to mom about. If you had more fights, 73 would be good, but with that little bit of fights, nah. Alonzo Butler. He was a heavyweight. At the height of his career, Butler went unbeaten for 26 consecutive fights, right? He later became the sparring partner of world heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, preparing Wilder for his world title fights. Yeah, Alonzo Butler, that's his claim to fame. Sparring partner for Deontay Wilder. And finally, Frankie Randall. And he's famous for being the first man to beat Julio Cesar Chavez. Also, it should have been Melvin Taylor. But officially, Frankie Randall was the first man to beat him. Yeah. I think he lost to him. I think they might have had 3 fights. I'm not sure. But that was the only one he won. And they tried to get up on the Chavez. It was a unanimous decision, but they made the split. One judge gave it to Chavez. They was how they make the most out of that undisputed run. Unbeaten run. But half of them was down there in Mexico fighting in bars. I told you Chavez walked in the bar and they say, clear the dance floor, get the ring out of the closet over there. And they find some guy been standing at the bar drinking for 2 hours straight, and that's his opponent for today. 50 of those, that streak was those kind of wins, you know? Go down to the local bar and cut the jukebox off. Everybody get off the dance floor, get the ring, Jose. And then they go at it. And the drunkest guy in there and put him in the ring with him. But Frankie Randall. Frankie's from, he was born in Birmingham, Alabama, but he grew up in Morristown, Tennessee. He won 58 fights, he lost 18, 1 draw, 42 knockouts for Frankie. Now, yeah, he was a boxer. Well, I don't want the singer, I want the boxer. Yeah. His claim to fame was first man to beat Julio Cesar Chavez, though. Okay, Frankie Randall. Now let's talk about Big John Tate. That's Frankie Randall right there. That's Big John Tate right there. 331, wow. Briefly, Big John. Okay. But first, I haven't showed this yet, okay? Another raffle coming up.
He is doing it again. That's right. We're doing another 50-50 raffle. Yes, indeed. Someone is going to be able to walk away with the Easter basket. That's right. We're doing the drawing on Easter morning. Yes, indeed. And some lucky person is going to be able to get that bag. How do you get that bag? You send $10 to Cash App, JBT Network 1. Bam, and you in. Now, we still got the block special. That's right, 3 for $25. You know how you like that block special, man. Yes, indeed. It will increase your odds, just like our last winner, C. Wood, that won like 700, I don't know, some odd dollars, man. But listen here, man, we appreciate you at the JBT. We're looking forward to this new 50-50, and we're looking forward to see who is going to win the Easter basket. Again, send $10 to Cash App, JBT Network 1.
Okay. Big John Tate. Probably about the most well-known from Tennessee. We're not counting Thomas Hearns because he was just born in Tennessee. But his entire boxing career played out of Detroit, Michigan. Big John Tate and Caleb Sweethands playing probably the 2 biggest names out of Tennessee that I can think of. But Big John Tate, on October 20th, 1979, in front of a nearly all-white crowd of over 80,000 spectators in segregated Pretoria, South Africa, a 24-year-old black man from Knoxville, Tennessee, named John Tate, found himself in a boxing ring preparing to battle for the heavyweight championship of the world. The same title that was recently vacated by the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, right? And Muhammad ended up coming back, remember? Now, Tate's opponent was undefeated South African hometown hero, Jurie Coetzee. I think that's how Bruce Castro was pronounced. Coetzee. Right, that's what I'm gonna call him Jurie. Coach Zia. Okay, that's who Tate was going up against. So Tate was a long way from his home in East Tennessee and on even longer time removed from the cotton fields of Arkansas, where as a teenager, he labored under a system built on oppression. Okay? In January 1955, Big John Tate was born into his nickname. That boy weighed 16 pounds, 16 ounces when he was born. Damn. That's got to be some kind of record. This is his mother talking. That boy weighed 16 pounds, 16 ounces. Cost me 29 stitches. His mother, Bernice Tate Brown Archer, said in a 1979 Knoxville News Sentinel article, 16-pound baby, man. That's a full-grown little boy. Tate was the second of 7 children. His father skipped out on the family at an early age, leaving his mother and grandparents in charge of his upbringing. In moments when they couldn't be there, in stepped their neighbor, Alberta Patton. He'd say, "Miss Alberta, I'm going to make you real proud of me." He told me how he would have a big car and lots of money, Patton told reporters in 1979. Wealth, however, seemed like a distant dream. According to his grandmother, Leona Gamble, there were times in Tate's early life when he didn't even have clothes on his back. His peers took note. We were poor folks, but his family was really poor, and John couldn't talk good, a classmate said of him. Speech therapy was another challenge, but those programs weren't an option at the all-black schools Tate attended. Okay? They didn't take notice of kids with special problems. They just say, "Boy, you learn," Patton said. Tate also could not read or write, and his size often left him the victim of ridicule, especially as it caused him to be bumped from the 4th grade directly into the 7th. Why? If you couldn't read or write, why are you going to jump in 3 grades? That don't even make sense. Tate eventually dropped out of school and took on jobs like loading livestock, feed, hauling lumber, and picking cotton. Now, without a father figure, Tate looked up to his uncle, Leroy Gamble, who never shied away from a fight. He wanted to grow up and be like me, his uncle said. I told him, no, that's not the way, because I used to do a lot of street fighting, and I didn't want him to grow up like that, okay? Despite the warning, Tate follows his uncle's lead, and one of his many street brawls ended with a stab in the shoulder. A minister who visited him in recovery offered Tate both a vision and a tangible future, saying, as much as you love to fight, you should try boxing. This time, Tate took the advice. Within months, he found a coach named James House and started his amateur boxing career. All arms, legs, and teeth. He was polite and had a wonderful smile. I saw him from the beginning as a good human being. If he was any kind of hoodlum, I wouldn't have anything to do with him, House said in the 1979 News Center article. This is the coach that he found. The pair had their first fight in Osceola, Mississippi. Tate won by a second-round technical knockout. From there, they went on to win multiple tournaments throughout the Southeast. Tate even took second at the 1975 National Golden Gloves Tournament in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was after one of these fights that Tate changed the course of his career when he asked an opponent how he learned how to box so well. The fighter pointed to trainer, Jerry Ace Miller. Ace Miller, John Tate's longtime trainer, said, John Tate, I saw him fight in the Southeastern USA boxing tournament, and he beat a heavyweight that nobody could beat, a guy named Jimmy Stanson from Chattanooga. and Tate stopped him, H said in a later interview. He came over to me and he said, "What did you think about that fight, Mr. Miller?" I said, "Well, that's the second time I've seen you fight, son. The first time you got knocked out. That time you knocked the guy out." I said, "If you come to Knoxville and listen to what you were told to do, you'll be champion of the world one day." And Tate said, "I'm coming, I'm coming." Now, Tate kept his word and hopped the Greyhound to Knoxville. Stepping off the bus, the first person he called was Ace. Upon his arrival, Miller welcomed John as a member of his own family. Okay? Ace offered his new fighter a bedroom at the pool hall turned boxing gym. The Golden Gloves gym is also where Tate found a loyal crew that he dubbed the Hillbillies, right? With nicknames like Mouse, Tank, Bad Eye, Mad Dog, and Wrong Way. A bunch of good old boys. We're just electricians, telephone men, just friends. It was a team. Everybody had something to do. You had one person that cuts up the stew, one person cools him off, and only one person giving him instructions. Either I was on the stew or I was giving him water, cooling him off. Ace was in the ring giving instructions, said Judge Hill, Tate's former corner man. Team Tate was now complete. What looked like a perfect match for some had a rocky start, right? And Tate was just getting started. Ace and Tate persevered and made it to the Olympic trials for the 1976 Montreal Games. Arriving at the event, the pair could be overheard singing the ditty every day at the gym. You can see him arise. He stands 6'4" and weighs 225. To make the team, however, Tate would have to fight and beat two opponents whom he had lost to earlier in the year, Michael Dokes and Marvin Stinson, which he did, right? And punched the ticket to the 1976 Summer Games. He lost that fight to Dokes when he was in line to fight Ali next. All he had to do was get by Dokes, and Dokes beat him. That was later in the series. This is in the amateurs. Okay, now he was joined by teammates and future world champions, Michael and Leon Spinks and Sugar Ray Leonard. In Montreal, things seemed to be going well for Tate. He dispatched his first two opponents and found himself in the semifinals against reigning Olympic champion Teofilo Stevenson from Cuba. Ooh, that's a tall test there for Tate. Despite suffering a severe cut above his left eye, and the team's manager advised him to pull out of his next fight, Big John pressed forward. I knew when I got in the game, my coach H. Miller told me, if you're going to be good, John, you got to put in the cost. And I put in the cost to be the boss of the heavyweight division in the United States. I knew one day I would have to represent my country in the Olympics. And now I'm here, Tate told reporters before the fight, right? During this pre-fight interview, Stevenson vowed to stick to his own style of boxing and not focus on Tate's cut. The cut, however, was a non-factor in the fight's outcome. If anyone knows anything about Stevenson, Stevenson was a grown man. He won the Olympics as he was about 40 years old at the time, fighting those young kids, Tank said. With a single right hand from Stevenson, Tate's dream of Olympic gold was shattered with 1 minute 31 seconds left in the first round. But that wasn't Stevenson's fault because Cuba wouldn't let him turn professional back then. So, you know, and he didn't want to leave the country, right? Because he could never go back. So he had offers. They offered that man millions of dollars to defect, but he said, no, I'm not doing it. When in 1972, he was in the Munich Olympics. They had, I think it was like $1 million or $2 million they offered him straight up front. Had his housing, everything back in the United States, everything all set. All he had to do was defect. He said no. That sounded like a Don King offer to me right there. Yeah. Stevenson stopped him in the first round. Right? Even in defeat, Tate was still able to secure a bronze medal for his country in the 21st Olympiad, even garnering recognition from the then U.S. President Gerald R. Ford. He returned to Knoxville and began his professional career. No need to hang your head. Nobody ever beat Stevenson. Plus, he was a grown man. You know, he'd been fighting for like 20 years by then. You know? In March 1977, John Tate signed to Bob Arum's Top Rank Promotions. Still unable to write, Tate signed his name on the contract with an X. By May, Tate was making his professional debut, winning his initial outing with a 5th round TKO over Jerry Tompkins. When his first fight. Okay. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, Thomas Hill? Oh yeah, we're talking about Big John. One of, as far as boxing, one of Tennessee's most famous sons, along with Caleb Plant now. You talk boxing in Tennessee, Caleb Sweet Hands got to be one of the first names that come to mind. But yeah, he signed with Top Rank, the Bob father, okay? Yeah, everybody back then, he was the Bob father or Don King, one of them. If you wanted the big fights, you signed with one of them. Wasn't no Eddie Hearn or Oscar or Al Haymon, none of them back then. There were other promoters, but the Bob father, Don King, was the game, okay? So, yeah, he made his debut when his first fight was the 5th round TKO over Jerry Thornton. Okay. Over the next 2 years, Tate would step into the ring 16 more times, compiling a record of 17 wins and 1 loss. 14 of his wins by knockout, right? His first big test came in January 1979 against Canadian Dwayne Barbic. Like Tate, Barbic had lost to Teofilo Stevenson in the 1972 Olympics. But Barbic boasted an impressive 48-2 record, with 42 of his wins coming by knockout. Yet Dwayne Barbic had popped. Just over 2 rounds into the fight, Barbic had been down already and was catching punches from Big John. Right? They hand feed you matches that you're supposed to win, and they build this great big old record up there, and the guy can't fight. John took him to school that night. We knew John could fight, and he took care of business. That was one of his teams. Just like that, at only 23 years old, Tate found himself in the race for a shot at the heavyweight title. Okay? In September 1978, Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship for a record 3rd time. Retiring soon thereafter, his title was left vacant. 4 top-ranked fighters were chosen to be the heir apparent to Ali's throne. 2 South Africans, Kali Natzia and Juri Coetzee. And 2 Americans, Leon Spinks and Big John Tate. Now, the quartet of fighters would face off against one another in a 3-fight tournament of sorts, with the winner receiving the World Boxing Association World Heavyweight Championship. For the first fight, John Tate would travel over 8,000 miles to take on Cali in Mumbatha, South Africa, a country torn apart by the racial segregation of apartheid. How come all the fights was over there? The fight was set for the 40,000-seat Independence Soccer Stadium. Okay? So, despite the racial tensions of that time, a New York Times writer referred to Tate as honorary white, exempt from the restrictions of apartheid. Wow. John was welcomed with open arms by both black and white people in South Africa. He even acted as a spokesperson for watches, clothing, and a brand of corn-fed chicken. Now, before the fight, Natzia took shots at Tate in the local papers by calling him baby fat and saying John would have to be Superman to beat him. The white fighter was quick to insist the verbal jabs weren't motivated by race. Okay, by fight time, the stadium packed in 51,000 spectators to witness the fight. Okay, 51,000. At the time, Tate vs. Nazi became the highest grossing non-title fight in boxing history with an impressive $750,000 gate. But it was a title eliminator though, right? Title eliminator. The first two rounds were relatively quiet for Tate, who employed a stick and move strategy. In the third round, however, Nazi scored a right hand on John. Man, I don't know what the man's name is. It's not that, but I can't pronounce it. Okay, there it is right here, real quick, because we getting short on time. A-N-O-P-T-E. Whatever that is, that's what I'm talking about. I call him Nazi. I'm gonna call it Knothead. Nazi. Okay, yeah. From the fourth round on, it was all Big John. Okay. In the eighth round, the accumulated damage was too much for Nazi as he began stumbling around the ring. It was an eighth round TKO for Big John Tate, and with it, an opportunity to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. That's how I ended up back over there fighting Coach Zia. And Bruce Gass told me how to pronounce that. Nazi made good on his pre-fight statements and went to Big John's corner to shake his hand. But that was nice of him. Along with the win, Tate took home $350,000. Soon after that, John and his merry group of hillbillies landed in Knoxville to a hero's welcome. People lined the streets just to get a glimpse of the hometown boy on the verge of a championship parading through the streets in a convertible, right? So let's get to the Coach Zia fight. And that's how you pronounce that, because Bruce Gass told me that. Now, he was one fight away from the crown. Ace and Tate flew to Monaco for the fight between Joey Coetzee and Leon Spinks. The victor would face Big John, but Coetzee won that one, okay? So the fight between Big John and Coetzee was set for Pretoria, South Africa, at the Loftus Versfeld Stadium, a venue primarily used to stage rugby matches and exclusively for whites only. That fact provoked the ire of civil rights leader Jesse Jackson, who called for boycotts of the fight and said John Tate would be a traitor to his race if he fought at that arena. No, he wasn't. The man got that's not his fault. You got a lifetime opportunity to win world champion. I would fight there too. I'd be like, forget you, Jesse Jackson. You gonna give me all this money that I'm gonna make if I boycott this fight? Jesse Jackson? You gonna replace all that money I'm gonna lose out on? Hell no, so shut the hell up. I would have took the fight too. I don't blame Big John. Jesse Jackson wasn't gonna put all that money in his pocket. So, yeah. I get these people boycott this, boycott that. They want you to miss out on that money, but they're not gonna replace it. So despite the criticism, Tate arrived in South Africa 11 weeks before the fight with Coetzee. Yeah, he did the right thing, man. Take the fight and make that money, man. Jesse Jackson ain't gonna pay you all that money. So, although both fighters tried to avoid politics in the pre-fight build-up, promoter Bob Aaron voiced opposition to the separatist political ideology of apartheid. Yeah, Bob Father opposed it. After the Bob Father's many meetings with government leaders, came a surprise decision for the first time in history. Loftus Versfeld Stadium would be desegregated and welcome both whites and blacks for the fight. Go ahead, Bob. You go, Bob Father. Bob Father said, I ain't going for that. Bob Father might have threatened to pull it, and they didn't want to lose all that money. But Bob Father got that thing integrated. You go, Bob Father. On October 20th, 1979, over 80,000 people fought. Roughly 5% of them black packed the rugby stadium turned boxing arena. Tate vs. Coetzee marked the largest crowd to witness a boxing match in more than 50 years. Tate wore blue, Tate wore white, Coetzee wore blue. Coetzee should have wore black. The fight started off slow, with neither fighter gaining an advantage until late in the third round. A 1-2 from Coetzee staggered Tate, but he managed to hang on for the remaining seconds of the round. I'm gonna watch that later on today. Okay. Then that's your homework assignment. Watch Tate versus Coetzee today. Then early in the fourth round, a left hand wobbled Tate. I've never seen that fight. Early in the fourth round, a left hand wobbled Tate, his glove nearly grazing the canvas. The Knoxville fighter managed to regain his composure, and by the 11th round, he gained control of the fight, right? Coetzee stood his ground to the final bell, and the two fighters embraced, awaiting the judge's decision. The new heavyweight champion of the world, Big John Tate. Yup, John Tate got it. Came home to a hero's welcome. But yeah, what Jesse Jackson was talking about here, a traitor for taking a fight. But I just like that one question I had for Jesse Jackson. Are you going to pay me this money that I'm going to give up if I boycott this fight? No. So shut the hell up. It's simple as that, man. You know? Let me see if I can see how much he made if they put that in here. How much he made for the fight. Which Jesse Jackson was not going to give him. So I don't blame Big John. And the Godfather got the place integrated anyway. So Jesse Jackson jumped the gun. He should have just sat back and been patient. The Godfather had a plan for him. He went in there and told him something. He met with the president, and when he came out, it was integrated. Now guess what? Big John made $3 million. If he boycotted the fight, was Jesse Jackson gonna give him $3 million? I don't think so. So he did right. And plus, like I said, Bob Father got the place integrated before it happened. See, the Bob Father went in with a plan. You know, he went in there and told the president, if you don't let the blacks and whites come in here, I'm gonna pull this fight. And South Africa stood to lose a lot of money. That was a big fight. But yeah, Big John got his title then. But then he had that big fight. He was Ryan Frazier. What's happening? How are you today, Ryan? Boxing Talk up north. Good to see you. Our friend from Canada. Yeah, we was talking about Tennessee today and the big fight they had over there in South Africa between John Tate and Jerry Coetzee when Ali vacated. Ali did come back, but he vacated and retired then, and then they had a tournament for it. It ended up Big John and Jerry Coetzee in South Africa. And they had the place segregated. It was only whites only. But Bob Father went in there and told him, you know, he had a meeting with the president, and when he came out, they was letting blacks in too. You know, Bob Father went in with a plan. But anyway, John Tate got his title. He made $3 million. But then he was in line to fight Ali. He had a fight with Michael Dokes first, but Michael Dokes stopped him. Yeah. But we got to get ready to get out of here because Just Do Boxing is up next. But I appreciate everybody that came through today. We brought it all the way up to the door today. Tomorrow is the profile day, and it's the life and career of Sugar Shane Mosley tomorrow. We got a good one. It's an International Boxing Hall of Famer. Fought the names from this area: Floyd, Oscar. Did he? I think he fought Cotto. Yeah, Sugar Shane. Did he fight Trinidad? Not sure. We're gonna find out tomorrow. But we gotta go now. Just Do Boxing up next. And I appreciate everybody for stopping through. Good to see Ryan Frazier in the house. Our friend from Canada, Boxing Talk up north, got a podcast. If you're not subscribed, get over there and subscribe to Ryan Frazier from Boxing Talk up north. Okay, tell him Cash Sports sent you. Okay, yeah, Let's Do is up next. Another. You get all that balanced, unbiased boxing talk over there. You get the best from both sides. Everybody gets to just do boxing, right? Let me see. I was trying to see his thumbnail, but I can't get the phone to work right. I'm in YouTube. What's the phone talking about? How about go to YouTube? I'm in YouTube. Right? Oh my goodness. Man, this is crazy. Okay, there we go. Just do box. Today is Thursday, right? These days are going by so fast. I think Boots and Staniotis is next weekend, right? I don't know what we got this weekend, but Boots and Staniotis is a week from Saturday. That's the next big one. And then in the perfect world, like I said, Brian Norman fight the winner. Now we got 3 belts in one hand. And then Barrios. Barrios still has his belt, right? Yeah. That would be the perfect world, be undisputed. But on Just Do Boxing, we got today Tank vs. Roach had 262,000 pay-per-view buys versus the last Casendo 340,000 pay-per-view buys drama. Berlanga turns down Plant. Yeah, Berlanga knows he can't beat Plant. Coming up next on Just Do Boxing. But we got Ryan Frazier, Thomas Hill, Al Booker, Mike Rim, Donnie Williams, Mike Mazik, and Miss Cass in the building. Appreciate everybody. Tomorrow, the life and career of Sugar Shane Mosley. Join me then. Join me then. Because if it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all of that boxing history. Just Do Boxing straight ahead. This is Cass Sports. Appreciate y'all 1,000,000%. Everybody have a great afternoon. I will see y'all around those JBT streets.